Hi, Nancy here. Welcome to Soul Talk, and I've got my two buddies right here for you. Jeff Robertson, Brian Flanagan. Both of them law enforcement. Ready? So, hi Jeff, hi Brian.
Hey, Nancy.
I have a question for both of you, and I know that having introduced them, they jump right in and they chat chat. How do you live with what you've seen, and what do you do about it?
You go.
You can go.
So this is something that is, I started in public safety when I was 15 years old. So to qualify it for me, I know where my 15-year-old son is right now in his life, and we're two very different on two very different paths. So that was I was like 35 or so when I exited law enforcement. So there's the timeline of the time I spent on the job. And all of it was, I mean, it's such a fulfilling role, but you see a lot of things, you do a lot of things, there's a lot of just stress that gets introduced into your life. And one of the things that most of the calls I processed really well, my own situation, until there was a variable where I felt like the ones that haunt me is the ones where I was like, ah, man, I was a half step off, or, this could have happened, or just some second guesses. And I was working through my podcast, before I met you, Nancy, but somewhere in that close time, and I have this knack to where I can say, you know what, you just need to forgive yourself. Nancy, you just need to forgive yourself. Hey, Brian, you know what? It's a great story. Just forgive yourself. And it was easy to say, and I thought I was at a ton of peace. And I wasn't. One of my guests on the podcast says, I said, well, sometimes it's hard for someone to forgive themselves. We say it, but do we truly live it? And she goes, oh, Jeff, you need to start doing the Ho'oponopono prayer. And I was like, say that again. So I pulled it up. She taught it to me, and it was one of those, Nancy, that spoke to me. And I was like, I'm going to go down this path. I was like, this is meant for me here. And Brian, what that taught me to do was I Googled it and I found this really cool podcast, and and then I ended up recording my own version for first responders. If anybody wants it, I'll make sure that you get it, Nancy, so you can put it in the show notes. But I'll tell you how to do your own right here. And basically, for me, in some of the episodes you'll hear from me is I had a little bit of just rough upbringing as a child, great mother, just an adverse situation with grandparents, and then I had discovered my grandmother had killed herself at a young age, and then there's a couple other little events that went on. So that always kind of haunted me. And then some of the things that I had done in public safety and law enforcement always would kind of come up in my head like, this is a memory. And what you do is go back to that memory in your head. And I think I shared this with one of you guys the other day of the little girl in the accident that I had wrecked, or where she had wrecked, and there was a little girl and her grandmother that got killed. And when I got there, I was so tunnel visioned on a bus because they had rear-ended a bus. And I missed the little girl was laying outside the car. Grandmother was obviously dead just because I could see her with the impact. And there's a witness there that said, hey, the bus is fine. Get to the little girl. And I'm like, what little girl? What are y'all talking about? And she was kind of just to my right. Like I ran around the car, like, where's she at? Where's she at? And she was on the ground where I was initially. So just that, listen, y'all, you're talking 10 to 15 seconds of emergency time, but it's just a lifetime of, man, I can't believe I missed that little girl. Because I was so tunnel visioned on that bus because I thought I had a lot of kids that was injured. I didn't realize I just had the one. So I went back in my head, and as I was walking up to that car the first time, I just kind of leaned into my ear and I said, hey, man, what you getting ready to do, it's okay. You're just going to do your best today. And just know that it's all going to turn out fine. And here's the key to the Ho'opono. I love you. Or please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Please forgive me. I hear you. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you.
Mhm.
There's the four phrases in the Ho'oponopono prayer. And so that incident, walked through that. And then I started going back to some of that childhood stuff and speaking to that person to the point to where my little intuition kept saying, man, you need to find these albums. So I found this photo album that my mother had given me of little Jeff. And I went back and I was just flipping. And something said, start flipping. And I made eye contact with about a 4-year-old version of me. And when I met, I was like, oh, you're the person I'm supposed to be talking to. And I just took that picture and I put it up and I did the Ho'oponopono prayer or Ho'oponopono prayer and got right. And but so he sits on my kitchen counter and I go back and I feel like sometimes I always felt like something was missing in my life. And I feel like part of it, and when I was telling it to a friend, she goes, that was kind of that, and Nancy, you and I may have talked about it. It was like that hurt inner child that was afraid to come out. And just that working through that exercise, Brian. So I preach that to my public safety folks now, the things that we fall short on and the things that we're not happy with, or the day you yelled at your chief and he should have fired you, but he let you stay on because he halfway liked you. And those moments that we're not proud of, is deploying that prayer has absolutely been a game changer for me. It was a step on this path to where when I figured that out, 15 other things opened up. I met Nancy, I met you, and I'm here having this conversation tonight because I didn't do this. You're talking, I don't know, I can message Joe like 6, 8 months ago is when I met this. And as soon as I started implementing that in my life, there were more of the right people, more of the right situations started. And so I think it was just part of my journey to learn that and share it with you all tonight. So thank you.
Good. Let's go to Brian.
So the question is, how was I able to handle what I saw?
How are you able to handle what you
How
have?
are I able? Well, I'll tell you what happened. I mean, I mostly worked for the first 12 years by myself. In our police department, we had a staffing of two, but if somebody called out, you'd be stuck by yourself. I mean, I've seen people shot, hung, stabbed, burned to a core. And I think what ended up happening to me is my bucket just got full. You compartmentalize, you shove it down, you move forward. That's what happens in these little rural towns.
Mhm.
And for me, I remember pulling up. I remember being out there a call. It was kind of a domestic call, and then right in the middle of this thing, we had this kid, probably like I don't know, 12, 13-year-old kid who we didn't know who he was, severely autistic on the spectrum, and we ended up getting an ambulance for him. We were able to determine I mean, he took off from his house like a mile away. I pulled up on the sidewalk in the cruiser. I just started crying. I couldn't take this stuff anymore. And for me, I knew at that point that I needed to go talk to someone. Now, mind you, this was after the shooting I was in. It was after wrestling a guy with a gun. It just to me became a point of my bucket was just too full. And I realized that I can't help people. I can't be there for my coworkers. I can't be there for the people I'm supposed to be serving if I can't be there for myself. So for me, the game changer in law enforcement, because I come on old school that you're considered weak if you pull out and ask for help. I just didn't care. And so I pulled out and I went to somebody, a counselor, actually a psychologist, and I was out of work a couple of months. I had no intention of coming back to policing. I was done. Um, but something along the path pushed me back towards policing. And when I came back, I was just a different person. So the drug addict became somebody who had a medical condition. I remember sitting with a kid who just got out of rehab for like an hour, telling him how proud I was. I was just a different person. And I think we talk about the ripple effect. I think that just started rippling to other people in the department. So I didn't know I don't know what word to use. I don't know how messed up it was in our police. We had about 16 cops, maybe 10 came to me asking me for help. That's high,
Mhm.
but I had no idea about any of this stuff. And here I thought I was just like this one isolated case over here, but
Mhm.
it wasn't. And so that's, I think, where we realized that we're more of a tight-knit family. I mean, we have our own squabbles and stuff, but, it becomes a ripple effect. We talked about that, so you're only as good as for the people you're serving. I mean, you have to be top notch for yourself before you can help serve others. And I think at that point is where I started learning how to focus on really this path that I'm on and giving back.
How'd your department department supportive through that time off?
I had Yeah, I shut my phone off, Jeff.
Yeah.
I shut my phone off. I filed FMLA. Um,
Yeah.
people calling to check up on me. I could care. I didn't watch the news for 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted nothing to do with any more hate in the world. I didn't want to see local news. I don't want to see CNN, Fox News. I don't want to see anything. Like I completely was done with all of this. Like my bucket was completely full. But I realized too, though, Nance, that in the circle that happened and me getting pushed back towards law enforcement, I realized that there's no such thing as a coincidence, and that I'm really supposed to keep serving, and just be the
I
conduit of that, and it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to take a step back. I think Jeff, you and I were talking about it on your show, um, because the thing is in policing, um, you can send somebody to counsel, you can send, but if they're not ready to talk about it, they're really not gonna. They're not going to get the help that they really need, and it's not really going to extend into the police department or the people you serve. I mean, it's just the policing is just it's a grueling, grueling job.
okay, hang on.
Mhm.
We're going to close this, but a thought about it. And
Yeah.
I just want both of you to consider. I worked with the crime victim advocate who wrote the Victim Bill of Rights. For 10 years, I knew him, and I would come out for everything he did as a helper, a support. And I have worked on probably somewhere around 300 combination of rape, murder, burglaries, sabotage, anti-terrorist issues, etc. for years. When we speak about those things and why we do any of it at all, right? Both of you had said things that I think matter for the public, for people who watch, to understand that we each find the best path that works for us to feel whole and not keep it as our worldview that the world is that way. Ask any trauma nurse or trauma doctor, or, people, the crises, the wars. One of my nursing teachers early on, she was a World War II nurse. And your hair could stand on end listening. I get that, right? Because it changes your worldview. And so I hear both of you, but I want everybody watching to understand one thing. They're not broken by it. They're keeping their priorities very clear, and they're searching for ways to support a good belief in life itself and how to move forward, and then consequently share it. So I know Brian's book is almost ready to go out, and Jeff's podcast, a new one, has started. So they'll be in the uh, description later, all the links to anything about their work. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for part 3.